Today, what I wanted to do in this video was head over to a TVA Sports clip that was broadcasted on TV. This will be linked in the description. It had 25,000 views, a whole bunch of replies, retweets, etc, 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 and the quote on the video reads this. Je suis convaincu que Primeau ne finit pas l'année à Montreal. Okay, I apologize. I'm convinced that Cayden Primeau will not finish the year with the Montreal Canadiens. 47-second clip, not really that big of a deal, but I do think it's an interesting idea to go out there and bring up, so I wanted to talk about it here in a video. A lot of people in the replies are going out there and disagreeing. A lot of people are talking about how Cayden Primeau does have a role on this team. I'm going to go out there and translate some of these replies from French into English and read them out here. Many NHL teams divide their goaltending duties almost equally. Until recently, the Bruins with Swayman and Ullmark were in that category. Unless you have Bobrovsky, Vasilevsky, or Carey Price, you might be better off keeping Cayden Primeau. When Jacob Fowler comes up, Primeau will leave at that point. I don't agree. I think Cayden Primeau will warm up Samuel Montembeault, will have an excellent duo. And so you can see that there are some people contesting this. There are a few that actually do agree. FYI, I just didn't put them here in the video. But let's go over onto an article on HabsFanatics.com published by Elias Adem that goes out there and transcribes more of the comments here made on the TVA Sports video. Eric Fichaud said this, I'm convinced that Cayden Primeau won't finish the year in Montreal. I am convinced that eventually they will make a trade. I think you should have a much older guy to support Samuel Montembeault, if you have decided that Samuel is your main guy. Now, the rest of the article actually goes over a bunch of interesting stuff here. Fichaud, in the video clip, ended up adding that Samuel Montembeault really improved last year, giving up far fewer bad goals, while in Primeau's case, he still has a big consistency issue. It may seem like a bold statement and opinion, but at the same time, Pierre LeBrun just confirmed that for goaltender Yaroslav Askarov, the Habs were among the 5 finalists. This could explain a lot and seems to confirm that Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton are definitely open to the idea of adding another goalie. And so, when it comes to this, I do kind of read these ideas and I listen to the video clip. It's all linked in the description, by the way. I do acknowledge what is being said here, and it does kind of get me a little bit sad. Mostly because I think I do have a bigger emotional attachment to not necessarily Cayden Primeau the guy, but like Cayden Primeau the story, more than anything. Because for me personally, Cayden Primeau was one of the prospects that many Canadiens fans were super excited for around the time I started making videos in a semi-daily capacity about the Montreal Canadiens. When we were talking about prospects like Nick Suzuki, we were talking about prospects like Ryan Poehling and Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and inevitably it was Cole Caulfield. And while all these conversations were going on, the Montreal Canadiens had one Cayden Primeau chillin' in the Northeastern University Huskies system. And he was good. Really damn good. A lot of people said they saw Carey Price's sort of grandfather in a rocking chair stability in net when they watched Cayden Primeau in the NCAA. He was fantastic, and a lot of Canadiens fans, myself included, were projecting him to being the starter for Montreal at some point in the next few years. Well, guess what? Cayden Primeau made his NHL debut with the Montreal Canadiens in 2019-20, so 4 seasons ago. And it's been a while, and now he's an NHL guy. He had a .910 save percentage this recent season in 23 games played. Sure, his record was not great. He went 8-9-4, but those numbers are still pretty darn solid. And for a guy who is 25 years old, I still want to go out there and say that Primeau does have what it takes to inevitably grow into a top-tier NHL goaltender. Samuel Montembeault is 2 years older than him, but Primeau was the better statistical goaltender this season by a pretty significant margin. .910 save percentage versus a .903. Not even to mention Jake Allen, whose overall numbers were just terrible compared to the other two, but of course who brought a stability and a leadership that the other two did not provide. Anyways, if you wanted to talk about Cayden Primeau, I think the idea of trading him mostly stems from a commitment to Samuel Montembeault. I guess that's kind of what Eric Fichaud is talking about, but that's the thing about it, right? You have to fully commit. Some people are afraid of committing. And I think one of the comments in the reply to the video there does make a pretty good point that unless you have a bona fide number one, unless your team is running with a Carey Price or a Shesterkin or a Sorokin or a Markstrom or whomever, it's difficult to fully justify going all in and putting all the chips into a guy like Samuel Montembeault, for example. Even some of the other teams with better goaltenders than Montembeault really try to run a pretty stable kind of back and forth momentum shifting kind of system. I get it, Boston is the outlier because they ran dead split down the middle with two elite guys in Allmark and Swayman, but for example, what are the Vancouver Canucks going to do? A lot of people are saying that the Canucks are going to go Shilovs and Demko. Demko may be probably getting like 45 to 50 games on the year, and Artur Shilov's getting the rest. That's not necessarily putting all the workload on Thatcher Demko like you would expect out of a guy who may be a top-tier, absolute number one bona fide guy, even though Demko really is just that. Gone are the days where we continuously see goaltenders play 65 to 70 games, and the reason I'm bringing this entire idea up is because for Montreal, if you don't have Primeau to be the backup, who else are you going to put in there? They just traded away Jake Allen, and they were in the mix for Yaroslav Askarov. That's one goalie going out, and another one that they wanted to bring back in, but ultimately could not make the deal work. So, with this in mind, the Montreal Canadiens, with Montembeault and Primeau in the system, you kind of have to start thinking, okay, if they're going to trade away a guy like Primeau, who is the goaltender that is coming back in exchange, and where exactly do the Canadiens go with the rest of their goaltending depth? I mean, looking at the depth chart for the Canadiens on goaltenders, I mean, Jacob Dobes, do you want to put him in the NHL right away? Connor Hughes? Are you bringing Carey Price out of retirement? No, probably not. There are a lot of opportunities here for other guys in the Montreal Canadiens goaltending system to establish themselves, but none in the immediate short-term future with the Canadiens in 2024-2025. Unless you really just believe in Connor Hughes and his $775,000 deal that signed him on to play with the Laval Rocket this season. Like, that is not a guy who is going to steal a spot. So, the idea of Cayden Primeau, I feel like trading him away mostly just confirms whomever it is believing in Samuel Montembeault, and while I don't necessarily disagree with that, I don't think it's a bad idea to believe in Montembeault. I don't think that that should come with an automatic exemption for anything Cayden Primeau in this upcoming year. If anything, if it's a dead split down the middle, if it's 41-41, and both of these guys are good enough to carry the Canadiens to multiple wins and having both of them put up winning records, then ultimately that's the goal, right? You want to see the Canadiens do well. None of these guys are Carey Price, so I think the expectation that one of them will become that might be a little bit too far-fetched. Sure, I can still see Primeau being a number one guy, but is he going to be a Hart Ted Lindsay winner? Probably not. And only in those circumstances do you see NHL guys nowadays put up 65 games in a season. You need two guys otherwise. So just rolling with some random backup, that's not going to work here. You need a guy that you can trust, and for Cayden Primeau, his save percentage last year, I honestly do put a lot of trust in it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think Cayden Primeau is going to get traded in this upcoming 2024-2025 season? The article, the video, it all says in Fichaud's opinion on TVA Sports that he does not think Cayden Primeau ends the season with the Canadiens, and I'm pretty sure he's not talking about Primeau just getting sent down. There's going to be a trade in his opinion. My question is to you, do you agree or disagree? And if you agree, what is the trade price for a guy like Cayden Primeau anyway? Not really the most established NHL goaltender, but a guy who has some talent and who has a pretty good record from last season in a limited backup role. He's young, 25 years old, still a lot of time for him to eventually become a good enough goaltender to be a starter. Is he going to be Carey Price? I don't know, maybe not that good, but still good enough. It's just, is he going to overtake Montembeault? That's the question. Do you want to commit to Montembeault? Do you want to commit to Primeau instead? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.